Oh, we don't need that light there. It's crazy. All right. It's going to be good times. My apologies that we haven't been here up on the YouTube channel a lot as of late. Um, if you're interested in my breakdowns, I've been just blasting out. I've just been prolific, making just dozens and dozens, hundreds and hundreds this year. Instagram at Robin Black Martial Arts and Twitter at Robin Black MMA. Every day, lots and lots of breakdowns. So if you haven't seen me here on YouTube and you're wondering what I'm doing, lots of that. But I cannot break down footage of Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone currently. There's different rules and structures about who can use what, where, and stuff. But we're going to talk about it because that's fun. Some hellos from people. Hello back. I've got some questions. I went up on Instagram and Twitter and asked for some questions, and we got a lot of good ones. So let's treat this as a Ask Robin Black Live, which is I get your questions, usually pretty good ones. And then a lot of hellos, thank you. And we try to answer them as best we can, knowing that we look at this a little different, and that's okay. We're all different, right? So let's start. Let's get right at it. So Conor McGregor coming back years off. We know this. A lot of the time lately, you notice that we still go through the motions of recapping things, even though we live in a world of niches where everybody knows what the fuck we're talking about if they would ever click on such a YouTube channel. So I don't have to recap a lot. But Conor McGregor's coming back to fight. He's been off for a while, got in all kinds of shit, accused of all kinds of bad stuff. And somebody said, quick, what happened to Enjoy the Hostilities was my favorite MMA piece. We'll be getting back to it. I said it on my off the top. Been spending a lot of time on the breakdowns. That's been my focus. So that's Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of my things. You'll find those there. So let's look at this fight. Cowboy has Justin Gaethje fucked him up pretty good, but you know that's what proud fighters like Cowboy walk in knowing, and Justin as well. They walk into fights like that knowing that's what that's going to be like. There's going to be a lot of unknowns about Conor. I'm going to just throw this thought off the top before we get into some questions. A lot of what we think we know about Conor McGregor, if I'm Conor and the people around him, I'm going to take advantage of the things we think we know about him. And for example, this will be my first thought. It's not one of the questions. When we all discuss Conor McGregor and the fighter, what do we talk about? Left hand. The Celtic Cross. That's what I called it. There's many names for it. My good friends over at EA Sports called it the Celtic Cross in the UFC video game, which was very nice. There's a lot of Justin Gaethje questions that's going to come up. We got some of that too, and Khabib. So we know the dude's got a crazy left hand, likes to throw punches. That's one of the major things that we know. We know he gets into people's heads sometimes. We know that he is a master of psychological warfare. There's all these things we think we know. So if I'm Conor McGregor and his coach, John Kavanagh, who I admire greatly, and we're friends, I'm going to try to take advantage of that. So what will be one of the things that I would want to do? I would want to use a lot of fake left hands to do other things, or a lot of the implication of the threat of my left hand to create other scenarios, because everybody knows my left hand is my best weapon. So we want to take advantage of what they think they know. My best weapon, the weapon I like to use the most, my big, I always got this. Well, let's take advantage of that. That's what fighters and coaches do. So a lot of the times by this point, when we're seeing things, understand that either they want us to see them or they realize that they're being seen, and the time that you have as a fighter is to craft a scenario in which I will make you pay for that. So we will move on to some questions now because there's a few that connect to that. But do you follow me? We all know, and we all know what Conor does. We all know what he is. Okay, make that you're Conor McGregor. Make that untrue. So UFC Buffalo says, "Hey brother, I've been going over film on these two for weeks now." Hear what I'm saying? The film is old. They are new. So if you were fighting Conor McGregor, you would study the tape. Conor McGregor will also study that tape, predict what actions you might take based on what you see, and then create penalties for you for doing that. That's what's happening these days. And I can't stress this enough. The narratives that you hear around, the outside, we viewers, are not the same as the narratives of what and the realities of what's happening with these coaches and fighters. They look at it, hey, this guy thinks this, so if I'm Connor's people, I'd be like, what would we try that we haven't seen a lot of? It'll be in here as well. Got to kick his leg. Great. So we have a year to expect, or 2 years to expect people might be kicking our legs. What will we do about that? We might change completely, or we might create a scenario in which you kicking is very bad for you. All right, let's get to some questions. That's the top layer stuff that should influence everything that we know here. And I've been on this for years. It used to be a very stressful thing. I sat around thinking, what we think we know is incorrect. Now I'm not stressed about it at all. I just layer it into the thinking. So at Goon Knuckles says Connor has been known to get in opponent's head. So this is connected to that. Cowboy has been known to be frazzled if fighting with emotion. Do you think the mental welfare will be a factor in this fight? We had a follow up from at GHOLO. Surprised we haven't seen this. Maybe Connor doesn't think it's necessary. Was such a big part of his strategy coming up. It will be fascinating to see if he can win on skill alone. So we're going to put those two thoughts together, the thought and then someone's note of the thought. So he's got in people's heads in the past, and that is not it's not an A or a B. It's not a 1 or a 0. It's not binary. It's not either yes or no, white or black. It's always we are affecting each other when we fight. Always. How much is and when it matters, and does it matter, and what happens? We are connected mentally at all times when we're going to fight each other. And even if you and your coach say, well, he's not in our head. The act of trying to make someone not be in your head means that they are indeed in your head, right? We are connected. Cowboy and Connor are connected. That guy's in his head. Fucking rights he should be in his head. You're fighting a guy for millions of dollars on television in your underpants in a scenario that is going to potentially cause you brain damage. Fucking rights that's in your head. Everybody. Every fight, always the guy's in your head. The question is this in a good way or a bad way? Is this in a meaningful way? Is this in something we can use in some way? I'll give you a quick story. Jorge Masvidal, for example, was fighting Nate Diaz. Now, was Nate Diaz in his head as in fucking with him? No, but was he in his head? Fucking rights he was. And I know this because when I was chatting with him and Abe, his longtime manager and friend, we were talking, we were going to do a live clip. And I've done lots of work around him and I celebrate his skills. And he likes me. As you will know, if you look in our thing, we went and had brunch together after one of his fights. We spent hours together, just carved it out for me. So we're friends. I would ask Abe, hey, are we going to do that live stream today? And he's like, bro, all I can tell you is all this guy wants to do right now is train. I can tell you, Jorge doesn't want to do anything right now but train. Even for a brief moment he will, but then he just wants to train. That's somebody in your head that turns out to be a good thing, right? The awareness, the truth. Fuck, I got to fight Conor McGregor, or I got to fight Nate Diaz. I got to fight Cowboy Cerrone. It's in there. That's a truth. If you're denying it, you're just lying to yourself. That is a truth. That's real. But is that good? In this case, Jorge looked magical and fucking never looked better. And it was great, sharp and crisp and in shape and mentally good. But if you overtrained and blew out your knee, if you overtrained and fought too tight and couldn't relax, and then it would be bad. But it would be the identical thing. Somebody is there. The truth of the fact that you will fight this man in the cage, that truth is in different areas of your brain. And then it causes you to take some kind of action. That action in Jorge's case was great. In somebody else's case, they injure themselves. Okay, so is Conor McGregor in Donald Cerrone's brain? Yes. Is Donald Cerrone in Conor McGregor's head? Of course he is. When Conor was winning the mental battle with Jose Aldo, Jose was in his head. He was constantly thinking about it, thinking about his body, thinking about what to say, thinking about how to affect him. These guys they have to be. This is a moment in your life that it only happens one time. Even if you get a rematch, this thing happened tonight, is happening tonight. It's over when it's over, and it's gone forever. And it's a part of your life. And so that is the case. And so they're in each other's heads. But this is what GHOLO notice at GHOLO. We haven't really seen Conor do the things that we've seen him do before. Say things, to get you off your game, distract you, make you angry, make you emotional, undermine you, whatever. That too is a game, right? Why is that a game? Because he's fucking with your expectations. He's fucking with your expectations. You're fighting Conor McGregor. You're expecting him to come at you. And he doesn't. That's weird. He's thinking about that. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. What does it mean? But more than that is when we create a belief that we are something, that's something we can use against you. So you believe now I'm Conor McGregor, and you think I'm not going to do any gamesmanship. I'm not going to try any psychological warfare, and I'm using finger, quotations because, you know, these aren't definitive things. As I said, you're not either it's hard to think analytically when you're angry. That's cool. I'll connect that. Emotional, distracted. There's many aspects to it, but these things aren't just like things. Like we all play tennis and we will have psychological warfare. They are layered and nuanced and ongoing, and much of it is in your own brain. This isn't a tennis match per se. This is a game of psychological connection and manipulation. And sometimes I don't have to do anything, and it affects you. I've had, I've had a dozen or 13 fights in my life, booked 9 professional mixed martial arts fights. Oh, booked no more because I had a few canceled fights. So I had 9 pro fights. I had a few amateur fights of different types, kickboxing, and I fought in jujitsu tournaments and stuff. When I had these things booked, that guy was in my head. And maybe he didn't do anything, but he existed in there. It's impossible. Why wouldn't he? Fuck, that guy's a big part of your life coming up soon. You should be thinking about it, but it's how you think about it and what you think and how it affects you positively. Um, but so if Cowboy, and he's not going to be, this is what veteran gets you. Cowboy's not going to be, surprised or immediately by like, oh, cool. I guess we got a Connor who doesn't fuck around. I guess we just got a polite, humble Conor McGregor now. If you believe that, you are now ripe to be surprised. And being surprised is bad. Things that are happening that are unexpected can be bad. Now, you prepare yourself to handle things that surprise you. So it's a type of preparation, but you don't know what it is. And so Connor would say stuff at press conferences, which also helps make money and also helps sell things and get followers and all the things that have value today, but they can also affect the opponent. But Connor also does things in fights, in moments. So he's standing there facing off against Dustin Poirier, and all of a sudden, I think he gives him, think it was the finger and then a thing, and Dustin knocked it away. Is that something? Well, fucking, it can be. If in that moment, especially if you're like Connor's classy, he's doing whatever, and now he does the old flip your nose, whatever. It's about surprise. It's about the unexpected. It's about manipulating, creating, and then manipulating expectations. And so my answer to that question is don't believe that you know what Conor McGregor is. And let's never make that error. And not just because it's fun to watch fights, but in life. We think we know what our boss is. We're wrong. He's not what we project him to be. We think we know how our wife or our girlfriend or our friend or boyfriend or whatever, you think you know how they respond to situations. You don't. They're an individual. They're different all the time. Connor's different all the time. Cowboy's different all the time. And that's goes with that too. Cowboy can be frazzled if fighting with emotion. Cowboy in the past has himself admitted and said, somebody said, what is it? Robin has actually fought before. I had 9 pro MMA fights. I got kicked in the face plenty. Losing is the most important part, and getting shit kicked is the most important part about being an analyst, not winning. Winning is nice. It feels really good when it happens. So, somebody said, Quadrex said, share the stream, people. Thank you. It's very kind. But yeah, don't think you know what Cerrone is. Everything we saw once or twice or 8 times 4 years ago may have zero connection to who these people are. Again, I said it at the top. If you're just joining me, this connects to this manipulation of beliefs. If you think that I have the best left hand in the game and you're preparing for the best left hand in the game, it's incumbent on me to use that against you. Not just maybe you can't stop it, but fake it to something else. Make you believe that you know what I am. That's fighting. That's at the essence of it. That is at the essence of fighting, is that to make you think you know what I am and then turn out to not be that. Okay. And that's what Connor may well be doing. He also might just be like, hey, and sometimes real life affects these things too. I got a lot of shit going on in the world. I got a lot of negative shit against me. People are publicly disliking me. I'm losing followers and support and so forth. And I'm accused of terrible crimes. What the reality of those accusations are, I have no idea. And I don't want to say an opinion just because what I think. I don't know. I don't know. But all that shit's going on in the world. Maybe it's a pretty good time to be a humble martial artist. Maybe it is just in life, not just in public opinion, maybe for your own sanity. So it could be real. Could also be sort of real, yet he realizes, hey, wait a second, I get to play with these tools. These are weapons. These are psychological weapons that I can use against Donald Cerrone. But as far as Cerrone gets affected by that, Donald, if you look back, so I did a breakdown a lot years ago, but if you go on YouTube later and you say Robin Black, Donald Cerrone breakdown, you'll find an old one. And I show Donald and his body language and everything before he fought Pettis. And then I take his own quote and he talks about what was going through his head. He's like, oh man, I'm pissed this guy off. He's going to come hard. And he's got all these negative shit that's just happening in his head. So then you see him later and his stance and the way, how he's processing, how it's being expressed in his physicality, you see the difference. And he went to a sports psychologist. He went sports psych consultant, whatever. And he worked on those things. He examined some of the truths of how he felt and why he felt that way. And cowboys and Russian badasses and big tough dudes who don't, for guys like that to go and seek psychological support, in this case for fighting, but in others, you hear fighters and other famous athletes talk about it for their own mental health. That's a fucking inspiring thing. It's a very motivating thing. So is Donald Cerrone the guy who got shook by Anthony Pettis that time? No, he's not. He's a different guy with different skills, different experiences, different knowledge. Has he himself said, hey, he likes it when the temperature's lower? Yeah, he has. See, and that seems very truthful. It seems reflected in how the fights have unfolded. If you're Conor, would you find the opportune time to use that against him? Yeah, you would. And that might be right like seconds before you fight him. Literally, you might try to fuck with him in the minutes before. Right? All that's real. Right? So I think a theme of what we're going to talk about here is that, and it's a theme of examining anything in life and everything, is that sometimes the thing that we spot, they want us to see, or it's a distraction, or it's only a single layer. Okay, because let's use that again. Let's use that same root idea to answer another question. At MMA Slam podcast, he's got two questions. And it says, number one, Conor's coming off 2 losses, and Cowboy hasn't won Cowboy's coming off 2 losses, Conor hasn't won in a bit. Who has the momentum and psychological edge? We'll answer that in a second, but we'll answer a second question right now. Thoughts on Cowboy using leg kicks? Conor has a wide stance. Now, if and this is no knock against any of us, this is our own natural way of thinking. We have heard, maybe we don't study martial arts at all, but we've heard people say guys with a wide stance are susceptible to leg kicks, or people who put weight on their front leg are susceptible to leg kicks. None of these things are absolutes ever, but maybe we've heard that. And then we don't really fight or anything, but we see, hey, he's got one of those. You know what the answer is? To kick the leg. Now, what we're doing, and this is something we all do, we are drawing conclusions while missing most of the information, right? So leg kick, should we leg kick this guy? Fucking leg kicks are great. They hurt. They hurt, man. You get the bone stuck into the quadricep muscles and it starts smashing that thing. It can affect my ability to punch even. Kick the front leg. I'm just a bantamweight, but let me kick your front leg a couple times and then throw a punch. Just even expressing it. Punches start at the ground, right? Punches start from the ground. So we're hurting that leg. Of course, leg kicks are great, but the weapons aren't just weapons. A knife, a spear, a mallet, tennis racket, a hammer, a kick, a punch. They're just tools. And what tool you use is very minor, of extraordinarily minor importance at times in the grand scheme of things. Should you kick Conor McGregor's leg? Yeah, fuck, kick everybody's leg if you can. A lot of the low leg kicks you see started to happen because the distance people were at, it was easier to kick. So the distance changed, how people fought changed. So with the target changed, then the best weapon sucks to try to punch the calf. So it's hard, and you put yourself in danger. So you use foot, or better yet, your shin if you can get there. So kicking the leg is great. But is Conor McGregor uniquely susceptible to leg kicks? No, he's not. Is Nate Diaz uniquely susceptible to leg kicks? No, he's not. Once upon a time, when Carlos Condit fought Nick Diaz, he targeted his leg and he had really good success with it based on some of the things. So, and this is I find this kind of shit fascinating. If you say, and we could talk about a politician, a football player, we can talk about anything. The things that make you good are often the same things. Your strengths are your weaknesses. This is true in life. This is true in life. I'm very excitable. I get up in the morning and get going. And I work on a lot of stuff and I'm fucking highly motivated. That's a strength. It's also a weakness because I can be distracted. I can like get way on something and forget about another thing. I can like not do something because I'm so into this. Like this, your strengths are your weaknesses. And the Diaz brothers, for example, they would stand heavy forward in the early days of their thing when it was really working, and just fucking pepper you with little shots from a high distance, standing up high with the weight on the front leg and push you back. And one of the answers is that kick that thing. So is that an answer forever? No, because after a while they go, hey, wait a second, people try to do this. So when they do that, I have to have a thing for that. Like it's this, do you hear the simplicity in what I'm saying? There is simplicity throughout all of these things. So you're Conor McGregor, and fucking John is so smart, and Conor and John are rooted in truth. They've always been rooted in truth, and I think that's why, and that doesn't mean they don't lie, because lying is very valuable to trick your opponent and other people into believing things that help you accomplish the truth that you're after. But they know that the advantages for Conor McGregor come from his stance, come from his strength, come from his lightness on his feet. All these things are advantages, and they have disadvantages. When I throw my left hand, if I'm leaning forward and you kick my leg, that can hurt. So what do I do about that? Do we? Okay, well, I better not put all my weight. I better get rid of my stance. No, that's my weakness. And again, this is very loose. This isn't truth, right? This isn't fact. These are not absolutes. They're the opposite of absolutes. But let's just say that the way I stand allows you to kick me. Do I change that forever? No, because my stance also allows me to drill with punches. It allows me to move. All of the things that come from it are both good and bad. That's true of everything. But so what do? Do we say we better change it? We'll give up all our advantages, but we'll take away disadvantage. Or do we say we'll do what we always do and we'll find an answer for the problem? That's what you do. You find the problem isn't, well, my stance causes me to have leg kicks, so therefore I better change my stance. My stance also caused me to have 2 belts and knock out Jose Aldo and all these wonderful things. So we just solve the problem. So the problem, what do you do when somebody kicks you? You can, the big three are take it, which is an option, because if I take it and I sort of push it outwards and I step on it, where are you? You're on the end of your kick. I know exactly where you are. And you know what I do? I've stepped on it and I fucking punch you. So take it or counter it, or take it and counter it is one. 2 is check it. And 3 is don't be there. And that's Connor's big answer to the leg kick, is don't be where you get leg kicked. And then I'm Conor McGregor, and I'm here, and you can't leg kick me. For me to do anything, I have to get somewhere where I want to get, and you can leg kick me. And the trick becomes, how do I do that in a way that you don't leg kick me? And it's manipulation of timing, rhythm, using threats, feints. That's been his answer. People are like, yeah, people haven't kicked Conor McGregor much. You don't think they wanted to kick his leg more? They just can't, right? You don't get to control. And that's going to bring me to another question. Actually, let me take this one. This is a very good friend of mine. We've been working on this thing book together for a long time, and literally, I've got a writer's block on one piece, and it's just sitting there. But we will at Klonsky MMA. It's Dr. David Klonsky. He's my friend. And will Cowboy use his wrestling and jits, or feel compelled to put on a striking show? Relatedly, should he feel an obligation to put on such a show, given fan expectations and entertainment nature of the sport, or it is his obligation to win 100% to win, even if it's grappling? Okay, so there's 2 questions there. 2 good questions. One, will I use my wrestling and jiu-jitsu, me being Cowboy? And 2, what is my responsibility related to action and stuff? I'm going to answer the first one first because it connects to what I was just about to say. You don't fucking get to choose what you do a lot of the time. You want to, but you don't. Because you know how you wrestle with somebody? We all start over here at the cage and they say go. And then if you want to wrestle me, you have to grab me and you have to take me and you have to do something with that. Now, in the old days, and that's why our language and our understanding of things needs to change so we can be better with the truth. We'd be like, he shot a single or a double. and then he defended it. Because back in the earlier days, that's how people did it. I try to wrestle, you stop me or don't. It's not like that now. Wrestling begins anytime I'm close enough to be able to touch you. If I'm not close enough to be able to touch you, wrestling begins when I move close enough to be able to touch you. As soon as I grab you, we're wrestling. If I grab your wrist, if I grab your fingertip, we are wrestling. I then need to get a better hold. From there, I need to be able to either unbalance you or get to a place. A lot of times you see guys have the back and lace the leg, and then they're trying to like destabilize you. I take you off both feet or off one foot, or I pressure your body, low back pressure in such a way you go down, or I trick you, or whatever. That isn't up to you. It'd be nice if it was, if it's like, holy fuck, this is going bad. And so this is where we, the viewers, become flawed in our understanding and our ability to talk about it. And so frustrated to know what's going on, right? People are like, why the fuck isn't that guy using his wrestling? He wanted to. But to do that, to get from here to where I can grab you, I have to move forward. And then I have to do that, I have to do it in the space. And in space is where chaos lies. Space is where the chaos is. So in the space, you punch and kick me. I then have to keep going, and you punch and kick me as you move back because what we're trying to do is kill the gap. And if you move forward, punching and kicking, and I move back, punching and kicking, you don't destroy the gap, and the space remains. And like somebody just, and I missed it, but somebody just said something about Jorge kneeing somebody. Now, Jorge kneeing Ben. So now in that case, Jorge was taking away the gap, and Ben, his response was also to try to take away the gap. He got fucking kneed in the face. More and more people are getting kneed in the face, hit with uppercuts. Also, there's other problems. So I'm going to keep going on this for a second. And this is my friend David asked this question. This isn't related to only Cowboy versus Conor. This is related to every time you see people wrestle. Every time we say, why isn't this guy using his wrestling? And often you hear the frustration in our voice. And that's why I want to help sort of clarify this, because you shouldn't be frustrated watching fighting. It's cool. It's awesome, right? The frustration is something doesn't make sense to us. Now, we get frustrated thinking that guy's stupid, but we know deep down he's not. So what we're left with is going, wait a second, we're missing information. We're missing information because of the nature of how information is shared on television and in settings where shit's happening fast, and we commentate in an old kind of way that doesn't really make sense anymore, right? Like we commentate the way people used to commentate baseball on the radio. It doesn't really make sense. This isn't what we should be doing. And when I get a chance to commentate, I try to add little bits of what I believe will be more helpful and change the way to do it. I believe change is valuable. Not everybody wants that. But in the long run, it is valuable to change this. So we have limitations on what we understand. Why isn't this guy wrestling? Why isn't fucking a Cowboy got hit twice with the left hand? Why is he trying to take him down? He is trying to take him down. Even when you don't see a grab, the try begins with getting in there. If you try too hard, you run too fast, you get kneed in the face and you're done, right? So wrestling isn't necessarily up to you at all. I know you're trying to wrestle. If I succeed at my game, which is keep the space, in the old days, it used to be easier to grab than it was to separate. Now it's easier to stay separate than it is to grab. That tiny little obvious thing I just said, I haven't been able to verbalize that. But now that it's said, now we can say that every day. It used to be easier to grab you and wrestle you. Now it's easier to stay separate. The game has evolved in such a way, as it should have always. We're starting separate. We're starting from a place where you cannot grab me. You have to do something. Excuse me, my wheels are fucked up here. You have to do something to grab me. You have to win some battle, a battle of space. And I don't want you to. So I'll stop you by moving my feet, kicking your leg, faking certain things, making you hurt. If you rush, I'll knee you in the face. I'll fucking uppercut you. We'll fuck you up if you rush. So now you have to stay patient. You have to create the chance to wrestle. That's the hard part. Wrestling's easy. Got you. That's great. You can't punch me anymore. Creating the chance to wrestle is the hard part. So will Cowboy do any of that shit? It's really hard. It's really hard. And if you try too hard, you get punched 3 or 4 times. That's fucking the end of the fight. So you don't try it. You make it happen. You be patient. You punch and you kick, Until he is in punching and kicking mode, he's forgotten about the threat of me wrestling him, and then I attempt to do that. It's really that easy. These simple concepts are true. We just overcomplicate them. And then there is, of course, complex things too. That's all layered in. There's big ideas, very small ideas. There's wide strategy details, and then there's things like when I grab your wrist, I should grab it a particular way. There's small details, big, small, easy, complex. It's all blended together, and it's fucking cool, right? So that's Dave's first question. Will he wrestle? I mean, up to him. If he can create the chance to do so, I bet he will, and I would hope he would. But that brings us to the second question: should the fighter feel an obligation to put on a flashy stand-up show, given fan expectations and entertainment nature, or is it 100% your obligation to win? Okay, I really like this question. It's from, again, very good friend at Klonsky MMA. Um, we my Okay, let's look at it a different way. We're going to start with a number of aspects of that. First off, being, should you put on a stand-up show because it's more exciting to the fans? Okay, first of all, a stand-up fight is not inherently more exciting. Go out into the forest and find me a bucket of exciting. Exciting is created by our beliefs, expectations, and our biases. And what are those created by? They're created by the information that we've been given. Some of it from the UFC, and some of it from our friends, and some of it from fighting, and some of it from life, and whatever. We think that's exciting. Excitement is only something that is filtered through us. It doesn't exist in nature. There is no exciting anywhere out in the world. Exciting is something that comes through our perception. And so we've decided somewhere in our experience that that's exciting. But over time, you watch fucking Gordon Ryan and Gary Tonin and some of these guys grapple. It's fucking exciting. But thank you, Andy. It's my job to help teach that. And so what happens, right? This is a sidebar, but not probably 18 out of 20 of my breakdowns involve striking in some way, punching and kicking, things like that. Why? Why do I do that? I love grappling. I do it because I'm pushed somewhere without knowing. I'm thinking this out loud now, without knowing it, that I really like to make people happy. I like to fucking entertain people. I like people to like see this and say, "Wow, it was fun, interesting. I learned something, inspired me. Whatever, leave me a note. I'm fucking thrilled." So on some level, I'm perpetuating that in my own tiny little world because of the expectations. Fucking, that's blowing my own mind. I'm blowing my own mind right here. Yeah, like, so I don't want to do mostly kickboxing breakdowns, boxing, punching, elbows, knees. I don't want to do mostly that, although I love it. Lately, I've been training mostly that because it just feels good at my age and my body. It feels good, and I've never punched and kicked better because that's how it should be. You should get better as you get older at things, within reason. Um, but I love grappling. I love commentating it. I love looking at that. But I'm here. The expectations of the audience has shaped me into doing that. So I don't want to. And maybe that'll change now that I've thought about it, but I didn't even realize it. So would Cowboy be affected by what the fans expect? Yeah. Now, should he be? That's a different question. You're you should have no connection to the expectations of others unless it's important to you. So, for example, making people happy. Love to make people happy. People like to see me punch and kick. Say I'm Cowboy. Somewhere that drives me, right? Uh, Cowboy likes to make money. Makes more money when people are happy. People are happy when he punches and kicks. Like, these are all not to be greedy or selfish, but we're all driven by our own goals and expectations and beliefs and the things we want in life. These are the things that drive us. Now, sometimes you want to make other people happy. Well, that's still your want, although it's a nice one. It's cool making people happy. It's fucking great, man. Like, hold the door for somebody and then they'll say thank you. You'll love it. Be nice to a cab driver, or, Uber driver, or your waiter, or whatever. You'll see you affect their life. It's nice, right? But it's still one of your drivers. So if Cowboy's driven by that, he's going to do what drives him. So he may do that. But what is he there for at the root? And this is a fucking fair question to ask for him, to ask for all of us. The fuck are we doing here? Like, what is he doing there? He likes to earn money. He cares. He's got a child now, so he's motivated by particular things. But is he there to win? And there's certain other things we're motivated by that are sort of not real. Every time you hear somebody talk about legacy, bear in mind that if you asked 100 people, who some of the most famous athletes and philosophers and whatever in the world, uh, they don't know who they are. Like there's legacy means less today than it has ever meant because there's so much information in modern society that the chances of, that defenseman of some hockey team having a legacy that in any way is meaningful outside of his family and stuff is pretty nil. For somebody to like, what do you think of George St. Pierre? Oh, he was the best. Oh yeah, he was a good wrestler. He seemed like a good guy. Like he's one of the greatest ever. And his legacy, as far as how it affected you, is you know, three ideas or four ideas. Or man, I used to love watching fight. I watched him with my dad or my brother or whatever. Great, but he's the greatest. Like you know, when you're good, and Jim Miller is somebody who I put a lot high up with Cowboy. I fucking love Jim Miller. I loved his fights. I loved his attitude and the way, but if I grab 1,000 human beings, and this is no detriment to Cowboy, Jim Miller, Aristotle, fucking Malcolm X, any of these famous influential people, they just don't resonate with other people because everybody's life is so centered in what they have to survive, do, find, feed their kids. So much so that legacy is not real, right? And I don't mean to be negative. I don't believe it's negative. I feel like that's very freeing. Make your difference in the world today because your legacy is your children. Your children is, the passing of your genetic code to your children is your legacy. What you did or didn't do in a cage fight in 2014 is not your legacy. Your child will be your legacy. So, but that's very freeing. That we don't have to worry about how history will view us because history will not view us. We can just make a difference today. So, what's happening there with Cowboy is based on what drives him, and all of that is real in a fight. But all of that, and that's true of Conor McGregor too. And think about that. This isn't one of the questions, but it's connected. I'm surprised it isn't, but I'm sure we'll hear these things come up. So Conor's been accused of very horrific crimes. We don't know if you hate him. Oh yeah, he did it. If you love him, like this is crazy, but we don't know any. We don't know anything. We have no information whatsoever. All we know is he's been accused of horrible things. If he did nothing or didn't do things, thinks he did nothing, who knows? This will affect him. How people see you can affect you. What you want to prove to them can affect you. Everything I'm saying here is truthful as I can see it and believe it in my own limited experience. And you must put it all onto the table when you go to fight. But then after it's all there and you acknowledge it, you should be able, what you're seeking is to fight in there free of any of it, free of the audience's expectation, free of making money for your child or children, free of the accusations that you've been free of legacy and free of implications. You're supposed to be out there and just freely express combat. You dedicated your life. The biggest hindrance of any fighter at any time is themselves. And that's not some shtick. Like that's not some saying. That is the truth. The goal of any performer is to get out of their own way because you prepare yourself to be brilliant. You are brilliant. Donald Cerrone is a brilliant martial artist. Conor McGregor is a brilliant martial artist. Um, and so what they want is to be free to do that. They've dedicated their life to overcoming moments in combat. But if they're hesitant or they're too tight or they try too hard or they got something to prove or whatever, you fucked, right? You fucked. And somebody said flow state. Now, the flow is a state, is a psychological and a physiological brain state that allows you to be a true performer. We've all felt it, when you're playing road floor hockey in high school and all of a sudden everything fucking going everywhere. You feel like you're watching yourself. This is a real state. It's a real state that high level performers get into. It's real. And we don't even need to necessarily, zero in on it anymore. Once we realize that the top guys, that is the state of optimum performance. That's what they're in. A shout out to Joe Rogan and a thank you for doing so much for me this year. Um, and that's what they do, right? They go out there and they're free to do it. But if you're not in it, or you get shaken from it, you can deviate and suddenly find yourself thinking. Like there are times where a fighter, everything's going well. Like the best fight of the year in a lot of people's opinions, and it's impossible for me to quantify. I don't have a best fight of the year. They're all so different and beautiful. But for a lot of people, it was Calvin versus Izzy. Stylebender versus Gastelum. Those two dudes were just fucking out there painting shit and flowing and fighting, but there'll be moments, and I'd love to say Calvin's. They're both. I like them both very much, and they've both been very kind to me. Calvin, I'm in touch with more, but uh, but Izzy is such a good dude. You got to interview Connor again. I definitely. Well, I won't be down there. I'll be in the studio here, but I'd love to talk to those guys and other guys who have fought like that and watch the fight with them, and then find the moments where they're like, yeah, for a sudden I felt like I'd been slapped, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm in a fight again. And then you have to find your way back to that state of freedom again. It isn't like, well, for 25 minutes, there it is, I'm there, and it's all good. Um, what's his? Oh, for fuck's sake, I always forget that I have a thing with names. It has to do with my thyroid or damage from fighting or whatever. But that Calvin fought that soldier in Toronto. And when he fought Romero, and then there was the ice and the glove grab, and he took too long coming out and stuff, he was thrown out of the state of that he needed to be in to fight. He was deeply distracted, and then he lost. Romero, Tim Kennedy, thank you. I always do that. And I so don't want it to be disrespectful to Tim Kennedy or any of these fighters. So Tim's a brilliant fighter, and this guy's like lives to be able to perform in dangerous situations. That's who he is. But he was thrown from it by that situation. He was no longer in that state of free play, and he lost. Then when him and Calvin fought, I was there, and I was actually, me and Calvin hung out. Calvin didn't have a mark on him, and Tim was busted, but man, was he tough. I admired him and walked out of that arena under his own strength. I've never seen somebody take so much abuse as he took that night and stand up proudly. Like, fuck, I admired him greatly for that. And then me and Calvin watched Cub Swanson versus Duho Choi, which was so great. There's two guys just fucking freely fighting. That's what you're looking for, and this is all real. This I'm not looking at these. This isn't metaphoric speaking. The the state of free performance is different than thinking. And even when we watch and talk about things, this guy sees this thing and decides to do this. That's not real. We say that because those are the words that we have if we haven't really dug deeply and dedicated our time to trying to find better ways to explain it. We say, oh, this guy noticed this and then he decided to throw that. None of it's noticing, deciding, it's happening. These guys at the optimum state are almost watching themselves perform. Again, that's not metaphor. That's what it feels like. I've been there. When you're at your best, it's like you're watching it happen. It's happening by itself. It's fucking beautiful. So, and that's the thing that with Dr. David Klonsky, that's the chapter I'm supposed to be on the book. But what's today? Thursday? I will have something by the end of the weekend. Holy shit, my battery is dying. Okay, we're going to ask another question. Okay, this will be the last one for now, but if people enjoy this as much as it looks like they are, and thank you so much, I'm going to do a part 2 tomorrow, okay? All right, maybe even in a couple hours. We'll see. So I got more questions, so it'll be part 2. At Bricktop_UCV, do you think Conor will be too slow at 170 compared to Cowboy, who's fought a bunch at 170? And also at Guantanamo Trey, fight at 170, who does it benefit more? Will Conor's cardio be improved or depleted at that weight? Okay, I have an answer that will connect to both of those questions. All of this is bullshit. I'm sorry to put it that way. And it's definitely don't mean your questions. Your questions are awesome. I mean, this guy's cutting down to 155. He's going up to 170. Conor McGregor fights at 175 pounds when he fights at 155. Conor McGregor will fight at 179 pounds when he fights at 170. You know what I mean? It's not a 15-pound weight gain or a 15-pound weight loss. Cutting weight is the art of tricking my body to weigh something for 5 minutes on a scale. So when Conor fought at 155 pounds, when he walked into the cage, he was 170. I would say probably 177, 178. Doesn't matter what they tell you. When I fought at bantamweight, I'd walk in at 156 on the last couple. That's 135 pounds. On Friday, I weighed 135 at 4 p.m. And on Saturday night, when I fought, I was 156 pounds in the last fight. 156, maybe 157. How the fuck did I do that? I tricked my body to be that weight briefly. That's the same thing, only now you don't have to do it. So Conor at let's say even Conor's 180. Well, he fought at 155. He was 178. It's no difference. It just means he doesn't have to shit kick his body, right? It's not, and trust me on this. I'm not bullshitting you. I didn't cut weight 16 times, including my jiu-jitsu tournaments, so that I could bullshit you. I'm not making shit up. I didn't, have sit in the sauna with 10 of my fighter friends that when I used to manage fighters. I did manage fighters, Elias Theodoro, a couple of guys for years as I was learning about the business maybe 13 years ago. Um, yeah, something like that, maybe 11 years ago. And sit in there with them. I haven't watched these guys. I haven't weighed them the day of, and I haven't met with, nutritionists and stuff so that I'd steer you wrong. I'm telling you the truth. A welterweight Conor McGregor and a welterweight Donald Cerrone is very, very much, very little difference whatsoever from a lightweight Conor and a lightweight Donald Cerrone, especially when they have both fought. You can bend your knees and slowly move from the scale. There's little games, but mostly you have to make the weight, especially when both fought their best fights at 155. And they're both those guys are 2016, 2015 lightweights and the 2020 welterweights, which means the smart guys, the best guys, the next wave of the next wave of performer, we're already seeing it a lot, will be fighting up a weight class. You always see a lot if you're the guys who cut like crazy, because there's not a lot of benefit to cutting like crazy. And again, it doesn't really matter if Connor weighs 182 or 178. He's the same guy. He's the same guy. He just doesn't. Cowboy at 170 is a different animal. He's just he's the same animal. He's just an animal who doesn't have to fucking kill himself for 4 days and then really bad, or 2-3 weeks of carb depletion and then dehydrate himself the night before. They're the same animal. They're just an animal without fucking half killing themselves the night before, or the night before the fight, right? So we've got other questions, but I'm so sorry. My deep, sincere apologies. 45 minutes in, that's a good point. He's rich. He's not the same guy. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And when I say the same guy, I don't mean the same. A man may never step in the same river twice because he's not the same. It's not the same river, and he's not the same man. And that's the truth. When I say he's the same, I mean, the size is the same. But you're right. You make a very, very good point, and I should amend that. It's they're not the same guys. Is the same prospect? Is it the same, weight? Is it the same, should it affect you? If you had a fight booked 6 weeks from now and it was supposed to be at 155 and instead they said, hey, you want to do 170? You'd be like, great, I'm the same guy. I just don't have to cut a shitload of weight and neither do you. That's what this is like. So, and a lot of times things that we think are important only because people talk about them. And they talk about them because they think they're important, but they're not. This isn't important. It's neat, and media will talk about it because they have a list of things that they tend to talk about. And another one is like, shouldn't he be fighting Justin Gaethje? It's like, we live in a world where we don't control these things, and what we think is right or not right isn't right or not right. Why is he fighting at 170? Why should he get a title shot with Khabib? It's like, because that's how shit like this works. We don't like it, but eventually you don't not like it because am I in prison? That's a good question. Nope, it's a stripy shirt though, and it's orange here. Yeah, you know, you don't get to fair. Like we think it's unfair, irrelevant. What we think about fairness and deserving, it doesn't have any bearing. So I don't waste my time on it. That's what it is. I can buy it or not buy it. I can like it or not like it. What I'm not going to do is waste time being distracted by it. Quadrex, I appreciate you, man. Being distracted by it or stressed by it. Shit I can't control. Nice. Less and less. Somebody said Bink. Hey, I got Bink shirts. ShopRobinBlack.com. They're nice. Yeah, I got them. And enjoy the hostilities and hot lava and other stuff. I'll be back, I swear, because this was super fun. And we got lots of people on, and that's really exciting. It's really cool. So many of you guys have been so fucking good to me. And I appreciate it massively. At Robin Black Martial Arts, I got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of breakdowns. I'm making 10 a week or more. At Robin Black MMA on Twitter. Please follow me if you don't already. And then I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on TikTok. I'm at Robin Black Martial Arts on TikTok. If anyone's got any ideas of what I can do playing around with my breakdowns into 15-second chunks, I've got 30 or 40 things I've tried. Haven't quite nailed down how to make it meaningful for people, but I'm going to figure it out because this is what I love to do. Right? Thank you guys. Fucking a billion. I'm going to go plug my computer in. If It is 2:32 Eastern time on Thursday. There's a chance I'll come back at 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. If not, I'll be back tomorrow 100%. And I've got 5 or 6 more questions. If you've got more questions for me, please tweet them with hashtag ARB or hashtag Ask Robin Black. Send them to at Robin Black MMA on Twitter. And I will answer more questions about this. Let's do 2 more of these. What the fuck? This is super fun. Haven't done it in a while, and I've fucking loved it. 50 minutes. ShopRobinBlack.com. Black out. Until next time, enjoy the hostilities, my friends.